Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to make a video because I've heard recent news that Iron Fist is back in the MCU, which is kind of funny since he was always in the MCU and is considered the part of the MCU. But see, that's my problem with the television shows in general, is how 1 minute they're a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, then the next minute they're not. Just because Jeff Loeb and Kevin Feige has issues with each other, I don't feel like that should determine when something should be acceptable on the TV show or film or whatever. Of course, we know the films don't really mention anything happening in the shows, but the shows do, and sometimes the shows, you know, go off of what happened in certain movies to go with their plot of their shows. And it's just kind of funny, like everybody was like, well, we don't really consider that or whatever and stuff like that. And it's almost like it's some kind of excuse to eradicate Marvel of any mistakes that they've made with the MCU over time or whatever. Like, for instance, the Inhumans. Oh, I hear people always saying, oh, it doesn't count because, Kevin didn't do it and it was horrible or whatever. No, it's still considered the MCU, no matter how you want to look at it. When they're labeling shows part of the MCU, when they're doing anything with the MCU, all of these TV shows that the MCU have done or Marvel Television has done is still part of the MCU. Just because Kevin don't like it doesn't mean it's not there. You know what I'm saying? He can probably go over there and retcon, reboot, or whatever and stuff like that. And with Endgame, he probably can. That's understandable. But to sit up there and pretend like they weren't part of the MCU just because he doesn't like what Jeff Loeb did or something like that is kind of immature, and it's all over the place, just like one of those grow up and move on kind of lessons or whatever. Now that Iron Fist is back, he could probably join what, Shang-Yi, I believe, the with that new Marvel movie. I am so sorry, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Lee Shang, or no, nope, that I'm thinking about Mulan. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Iron Fist can be there, and maybe we can get an accurate Iron Fist costume. You can probably still use the actors because, of course, they probably want the actors to come back. I know fans like to see that continuity thing, so it would make sense to bring back Brandon Flynn as Iron Fist. Just this time, make sure he has a more muscle and give him more time to actually train than to give him like this short week notice thing, because that was another problem with Iron Fist. Not only was the writing terrible, they kind of rushed him all together or whatever. And it's kind of funny that a lot of people was like, oh, Iron Fist shouldn't be but it's being white, but it's just like that's what the character was though in the beginning. He was a white man who went to Kung Long and learned how to do martial arts. It's okay for characters to go outside of their native places and learn things from other cultures. It's not such a shocking thing. But anyway, that's off topic. That's for another discussion. But I always kind of funny that certain times people want to consider the Marvel shows part of the MCU, and then other times they don't want to consider it, when it's been a genuinely acceptable thing that, oh, these shows are part of the MCU, like it or not. I just find it kind of funny that because two adults are arguing over what should be where and when in the shows or in the movies, they don't want to acknowledge half of the things they do in the movies or the shows. It's kind of like, hey, grow up, you guys. Like, this isn't about you guys, this is about the fans. So it'll be interesting to see what Iron Fist would bring to the table. I think if I was Kevin Feige, I would definitely go ahead and add Iron Fist into the Shang Li movie. God, I really should have remember who this character is, but I of course don't know every comic book character. It's almost impossible for me to know every comic book character. But I would think that would be a good start for that character, because that way you can give Danny Rand Iron Fist costume, and you can kind of expand on what season two of Iron Fist left off in and bring that into the story, because you did that with Spider-Man. And if anybody be like, oh, well, they can't really do that, yes they can, because they did that with Captain America Civil War, when they added Spider-Man in at the last second. So don't sit up there and say, oh, that was planned. It was talked about, but it definitely wasn't planned. And it was like a last minute yes thing that Sony said to. So if Sony didn't have said yes to it, okay, cool. But because Sony said yes, they had to hurry up, fly out. Tom Holland auditioned with Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr., and bam, let's get Spider Man in. So it's not impossible to put this character in the movie at the last minute, especially when we're on quarantine anyway. You might as well go ahead and get that character in there, build up on these two martial arts characters or whatever. That way you can have at least two martial art characters for the price of one, and get people to be reintroduced to Iron Fist and show, hey, with the right script and with the right timing and stuff like that, we can make this character a great character. So it's not unlikely or whatever, but it's just kind of funny just seeing that, the fact that I feel like because the shows aren't as successful as the MCU, people kind of see it as a failure, or kind of see it as it doesn't exist, or it's in an alternate reality or whatever. But no, it's not in an alternate reality. It's there, you know, like it or not. Sometimes the MCU has to fail at certain things, like Captain Marvel. That was a terrible, terrible movie. One of the worst MCU movies I've ever seen. But it's almost as if Disney and Kevin don't want to see anything from the MCU be criticized or see it as a failure. But when it comes to TV shows, we can crap all over them. But when it comes to movies, everybody has a higher standard or whatever. And I just find that very funny, because these shows has their good moments, not perfect or whatever, but they did the best they could under the circumstances that they had, compared to the movie side of the MCU. But it's kind of funny, like, you set off this whole thing about, hey, we're going to have shows that are also inside the MCU, and because two grown men aren't being friendly with each other, oh, never mind, maybe, sort of, whatever, and something like that. So it's just cool to see that now we got Iron Fist back. Maybe they can do something pretty interesting, like I suggested, put him in the Shang-Chi movie and call it a day, to be honest. That way you reintroduce that character or whatever. But, tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, or just tell me you hate me or whatever, or I don't know what I'm talking about or something like that. I like to hear from you guys. So, peace out.